Podcast City Network.
He's American He's got the red, white, and blue running through his veins. He was born and raised in the U.S. of A. He's government inspected, he's U.S. grade. If you mess with the flag, it's like a slap in his face. He's American made. He's American made.
Welcome, everyone, to Podcast C Network presents a tribute to the true master of wrestling ring music, Hurricane J.J Maguire. I'm Everett Lee of The Everett Lee Show, part of Podcast City Network and one of the co-owners. And tonight, I'm joined here live with host of the Chris Carnage Show and Final Score and another owner of Podcast City Network, Chris Carnage. And from Deathmatch Wrestle Podcast, David C. Russell. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing great, bud. Honestly, it's been a nice, crazy night. But you know, with everything that's been going on, man, it's been nuts. It's been nuts.
It is. It has been nuts, man. First off, I want to say that with the passing of J.J Maguire, Hurricane J.J Maguire, we also lost another legend in the world of wrestling this week. Want to give my condolences to the family and friends of the bad guy, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo. Here's to you, buddy.
Chico. Too
Yes.
sweet for life.
Yes. But
Here we are.
we pay tribute tonight for one of the ones that put a mark in professional wrestling, Hurricane
What can
J.J Maguire. And with that, we have a really good friend that I'm going to give a call right now because he wants to share and pay tribute to Hurricane J.J Maguire. Let me get him on right now.
Hello.
Hello, Jim.
Yes, sir. How are you doing this evening, brother?
Pretty good. Ladies and gentlemen, I have on the phone right now, he's been a wrestling journalist since the late 70s, early 80s, if that's correct. I want to welcome
Off and on.
off and on. I want to welcome tonight here to a tribute to the true master of wrestling ring music, Hurricane J.J Maguire, none other than Jim Phillips.
I appreciate you having me on and giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about my brother. I'm still sore in the heart about his passing. It's still hard to wrap your brain around when somebody just goes like that unexpectedly. Yeah, he was a good man. And I loved him a lot. And we first met each other back about 4.5, 5 years ago now. And he was starting to come back onto the scene. And I noticed on the internet some posts that he was making. And I reached out to him and talked to him about how much impact that he had, not only in the wrestling business, but on pop culture itself. I mean, that you think about how strong the wrestling product was. You're talking the cartoon and everything else. All those theme musics were what you knew of those wrestlers. Like, that's the first thing you heard before you saw them. And the impact was way more than what he realized, I believe. And once we did an article, and man, the doors just opened up for him. I was so happy to see him get that second renaissance in his career, man, later in life like that.
Yeah, it was amazing because when I spoke with JJ, he mentioned that he was writing a book, collaborating with John Cosper on autobiography, and he mentioned that you did the introduction to his book, which is fantastic. I'm looking at it right here, and I just loved how you introduced the opening of this book here. When you open up the pages and you see a picture of JJ, and then you have your introduction there, and it's amazing that you did that for him, Jim.
Well, it was one of those things where you got to try and grab. It's like when you jerk the curtain at a show or an event, you got to grab people's attention right away. And I wanted to kind of put people in the mindset of the life that he led and where he came from. And yeah, I was really happy to be asked to be a part of that. We had done an article together for Gorilla Position before Pro Wrestling Stories acquired that website. I was the senior editor over there, and me and him had done an article there, and he had talked about doing his book and stuff, and we just couldn't get our timelines to work out. I was going back and forth to New York City doing some radio programs, and we just couldn't get it lined up the way we wanted to. And I'm so thankful that he found John Cosper, because John is an amazing writer, and all his work stands out, whether it be wrestling or otherwise. He does work beyond the wrestling realm. He's just a great writer, and I can say that in confidence, being a writer myself. Like, he's good, man. So I was happy to see those two guys come together. And then he told me that he was going to work with John, and he said, I hope that's okay. And I said, no, brother. I said, you get out there and tell your story, because I want the world to hear it, because you deserve to get those accolades. Because so many people, whenever they hear about wrestling theme music, all they think about is Jimmy Johnson. And I'm not knocking Jim Johnson, but Maguire and Hart were the foundations for all that stuff. You know, like they was the rock and wrestling, and all that stuff happened around 85. But then right after that is when all those themes started coming out back to back to back. And those guys laid the foundation for all that, and then did the Pile Driver album too. So yeah, it's such an amazing talent. He's going to be so missed.
Mm-hmm. He definitely is going to be missed. And when you did that article right there for the Gorilla Position, he shared that to me when I talked to him on the phone, and he was really happy and excited about that. And he forwarded that to me, and I read it, and you couldn't have written it any better, man. Any better. You nailed it right there. And I do appreciate that, man, that what you've done for JJ, and he's going to be missed. He's definitely going to be missed, man.
Well, that makes my heart feel well to hear those kind words. I appreciate that, my brother. And yeah, and it's not only is he going to be missed for his contributions, but it's just as my brother, you know what I mean? Just to see that name pop up on my phone and know that he's going to be on the other end ribbing me about something, and we're going to have a good laugh and share some stories, and never ending stories, man. He did and saw and accomplished so much. Like, I know from a personal aspect, I tell people all the time, life is like a river, and you can stand there and watch that river go by all day and think about where it goes or what might happen, or you can jump your butt in the water and see where it takes you. And JJ jumped in and went for the full ride, man. He did it all.
Mm-hmm. He did. He went for the full ride, and he made a lot of appearances. He started making a lot of appearances and traveling, and a lot of people started discovering who J.J Maguire was and what he did with Jimmy Hart. And he loved it, going out and meeting people. He told me a story one time at a convention, I think it was in Indiana, where he was there making an appearance, and this one family just came in just to see him, and that meant to the world to him.
I can only imagine the smile that put across his face. Yeah, he was very treasured, man. And like I said earlier, like, not even just in the wrestling realm, but what he did with the Gentrys, and then the stuff him and Jimmy did with Hulk Hogan outside of the wrestling business with not Hurricane, but Thunder in Paradise, where they was on the TV show and they did the theme music and all that stuff. You know, it's he led one of those lives that you said, man, you know what I mean? What must that have been like? And he was so down to earth. He wasn't one of those kind of guys that would turn his shoulder to you and give you a funny look. I mean, if you needed help, he would help you, whether he knew you or not. he was salt of the earth type people, man. I'm blessed to call him my friend.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad to call him my friend too, because it just with I've known him as long as you have, Jim, and it just when I got the news that he passed away, it hit me. And when I was talking with Chris here about doing a tribute to honor JJ, and when we put that out there, you were one of the first ones that hit me up that said you'd like to pay tribute to your brethren, and I was like, yes,
That's right, man.
yes, definitely love to have you come on. And is there any story that sticks out that on the top of your head about JJ you'd like to share?
Oh man, he imparted so many funny stories about his life, the things that he did. He always loved to tell the story about how he drove the Viper with Hulk Hogan into WCW when he made that big red and yellow appearance at the I think it was Disney World down there, the Universal Resort. JJ actually drove that Viper while Hogan was in the back through the crowd and everything, and that was always one of his favorite stories. And he told me a couple of times the story. He was in an arena and Andre the Giant was in the back, and Andre had some personal family there that he didn't want to just leave sitting. And he asked JJ to sit with him because, he was cool with him and he knew that he was good people. And he sat there while Andre did his match, and then he come back and, went about his business. But whenever he used to rib me all the time, this is just on a personal level. He used to call him, there was a gorilla, a black and white movie, and it was like a gorilla in a cage, and it was called Conga. And he used to call me Conga Phillips all the time. And I would answer the phone, and he would have that deep voice on the other end. He would say, Conga Phillips. That's one of the things that I know it sounds selfish, but that's one of the things that I'm going to miss the most, I think, is not being able to hear that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, whenever a celebrity passes or something, you're like, oh yeah, I knew that guy, or oh yeah, I might have been around that person. But whenever, like you say, when you're friends with somebody, when you form a friendship bond with these people beyond just waiting in line to get an autograph, when they're your brother and your friend, it hits you a little different. You know what I mean? So like it's still hard to come to terms with. We're speaking jovially and we're having a laugh, but that's because that's the way JJ would want it. My heart is definitely aching because he's not around.
Yep.
You laugh so you won't cry sometimes,
Oh yeah. I did my share this week with his passing, and then with the passing of Scott Hall, that was a shock right there too.
Right on top of each other too. Yeah. That was a 1-2 shot for sure.
Yeah.
It was rough.
It definitely was. But we'll always remember JJ with how he made an impact in our lives there, and especially yours. And it was good to have you call in, or me call you, because you're out and about there, and it was great that you call, hearing you come on here and discuss I'm lost at words here.
That's fine, my brother. I really appreciate you giving me the platform to come on and show some respect for my brother. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do the video chat, but I'm standing outside right now. Just got done on a motorcycle ride, just having a good afternoon. So I don't want to, didn't really have any kind of backdrop for you to look at other than my ugly mug. And Lord knows you don't want to zoom in on that. But I'll let you go. And this next week, now everyone that's around Nancy, Kentucky, hopefully at the end of this show you'll announce where all that's going to be. It's in Nancy, Kentucky, just outside Somerset. Next Friday night, the 25th, is going to be the memorial for JJ and the celebration of life there with his family and everybody. And I don't think it's exclusive. I don't think they're going to, expecting a whole bunch of people, but I don't think they're going to turn nobody away if you want to come and celebrate JJ. And I'm going to speak there as well. So we're going to send old boy out with a bang, and he's going to be smiling and looking down on us.
Oh, yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Jim Phillips,
Thank you, Jim, for coming on. Thank you.
Sure.
You guys have a good evening. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, you
Sharing your
too.
story.
Thank you so much.
Wow, Everett, that was touching to hear.
Yeah, it was. I'm still choked up over this week, man.
And Everett, we were just talking about, me and you were just talking about. Remember when JJ was talking about his cars and how he was in WCW, his making the last appearance, making his appearance for
Yeah,
when he signed that contract. That was crazy.
yeah. That was a big moment there. He drove the Viper, and
Mhm.
I got a privilege to go out with JJ to Hogan's Beach Shop,
Mhm.
and I was the cameraman right there for the stuff that he filmed there that was
Oh,
posted.
that's
I
right.
was
I
the
forgot about
cameraman,
that.
and he was able to get in that car and sit in it, and
Mhm.
he told me the story. He said this was the car. Jimmy couldn't drive stick; it was stick shift, that Dodge Viper,
Mhm.
and he could drive stick, and so he drove stick, and it was right there at Hollywood Studios, which at the time, Chris knows this, it used to be MGM Studios, and they changed it to Hollywood Studios there in Disney, and that's where right there down that street, that's where he signed his WCW contract. And
Mm.
you ever go there, Chris, and when you go to that part there, does that ever cross your mind? Because it crosses my mind when I go there.
Oh yeah, all the time, man. And it's crazy just because of the changes and everything. But yeah, it definitely crosses my mind a lot.
Yeah, when I go to that part right there, when I go to Disney and I go to that part right there, I say to my wife, I said, this part of Hollywood Studios, which used to be MGM, a lot of people don't know that this is where Hulk Hogan was in the Dodge Viper, and they had a big celebration for him. Yeah, the
Yeah.
parade, and when he rode down in the Viper, and he got here to the end and signed his WCW contract, and of course,
I just found a video of that a couple of days ago. Right, Everett?
yeah, yeah. Chris,
Oh.
David found the video of it right there. But when Hogan jumped the WCW, JJ and Jimmy went right along with the Hulkster, man, brother. They certainly did.
just to think Hogan was one of his first, along one of his people that he did the music for, and then the chain grew from there, and he did a lot of the collabing for a lot of the wrestlers over the years, from different WCW to WWF. Chris, you would know, I mean, like your nostalgia, like era, it's like our eras growing up of wrestling, music that people never knew. Like, and we were the first ones to actually, just think about it. We were the first people to reach out to this guy to come on a national podcast, like to be
Mhm.
heard, his stories,
Yeah.
Right,
But-
Eric, go ahead.
But one of the guys who actually hooked me up with JJ, then you, David, and then
Yeah,
Chris, because Chris heard about JJ, but didn't meet him until
Mhm.
2019 in person. I didn't know if you didn't talk to him prior, did you?
No.
No,
No.
that was a surprise.
I told Chris about JJ when he came down in 2019, and when he came down, he met him. We went to City Limits there, right where was it 2 nights or a night before we did the
1 year anniversary.
That's right, fans.
That's right, fans, because we presented, I helped out and presented Podcast City with the and JJ was there to present you guys with the Deathmatch Russell Appreciation Award as well.
Yes, I got it framed
yeah.
right over here on my wall, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, David.
Yeah,
Here's mine,
definitely.
right? I don't have anything on my wall.
Except your poster or your logo, which looks good. Which looks good. You sound great. You look good with the camera technology and a lot of stuff.
Everett, what do you think when it comes to JJ, to your mind about music? Like what songs caught your eye growing up? Like from all those tracks that he did. Ooh, Everett.
You have to say my favorite track. All right, let's go around. We'll say my favorite theme would have to be the American Made WCW, the one that you heard opening up the track. I just love the guitar to it and stuff. It almost sounds like a real American, but it's more edgier and stuff, and it's cool as hell. Hearing JJ wail on the guitar on that song, man, it's just amazing. I love it.
I'll have to go with Axe and Smash Demolition. Because here comes the axe and here comes the smash. You know, he told the story to me on my podcast about that. I cracked up when he I was like, wow, these are two guys that I grew up watching. And then, of course, the Repo Man. Repo Man. You know, he did.
What about you, Chris?
Oh, man, honestly, there's so many good ones. It's really hard to narrow it down. But I guess if I had to choose one, I honestly would also have to go with American Made just because it was so catchy and just so good. And like said, hearing a wail on that guitar was awesome.
Chris, I could see you coming out with Sexy Boy. I mean, that was one of his hits too. Don't forget.
That's true. That's very true. But honestly, American Made though, like, so good.
Yeah, but then all the originals, and then Superfly. You know, Superfly was the original when he said he told us that he did the voice like Superfly. You know, like,
that sounded pretty good, David.
That did.
Like,
oh, good.
But yeah, oh man, but man, we had some good stories ever to share with. I mean, he told us some stories about how he became a part of the crew and was doing Thunder in Paradise as well. Don't forget about that.
Yes.
That blew my mind. That was like, wow. And Chris, you remember that when he told us about like how he was a part of Thunder in Paradise and then he stayed there. Right, Everett?
Yeah, I remember that. He was really excited about that, honestly, and you know, he loved telling that story. Going
to Walmart, had to go to Walmart or Target to buy clothes just to stay on the set. They forced him to stay. Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, David, when I want to ask you, when you had JJ appear on your podcast, what basically did you guys talk about? What sticks out with his appearance on your podcast?
Well, we talked, about how he got involved with music industry. Of course, him and Jimmy Hart as the Gentrys, starting their career, and I was telling stories how like microphones would be different, and back then was like different equipment and synthesizers and voice technology. He was telling me that it turned around for him.
Yeah. One thing that
what was that?
Chris's phone. His phone goes off all the time.
It's nonstop.
Chris is important.
Yeah. Just Everett to come, get back to the subject. We talked about how he was a part of like just collabing all music for every wrestler and just how he put his heart and soul into it. Yeah,
he definitely did. He definitely did.
Jimmy really, Jimmy really was the back foot for him, really the back step, just to really get. I'm sure that a lot of people reached out to him after when he passed. Man, that must be touching for Jimmy,
Oh yeah, especially for the Hulkster. I mean, if you think about it, for Hulkster, there's Scott Hall this week, and of course, J.J Maguire. Same thing with Jimmy Hart, I would assume there. But Chris, when you first met J.J Maguire in person, when we did the 1 year show, when I brought him down the city limits there right before we did the 1 year show, and how was that meeting him for the first time and knowing that this guy, what he did with wrestling, with contributing with theme songs, how did that feel?
before I even met him, I had a lot of respect given what he had done for professional wrestling, and everything he did had such an impact, especially for me, because I love music. I've always been a big fan of music. You go look back on Chris Carnage and all the stuff I've done with metal and rock and stuff. Music it runs in my veins. And when I met him, though, I saw a whole nother side of J.J. Maguire. There's just this very
playing the keyboard.
Yeah, playing the keyboard and getting down and carrying the show, even when we were having technical difficulties. But just the kind of person he was just so amazing and just so caring and compassionate. And, everything he did on top of that he was just amazing to me. And the stories he would tell, were great. And, but the biggest thing is that he always had such a support of us with Podcast City Network that was just amazing. And to hear him talk and be like, just keep going. You have something here, make something with it was just so inspiring. And to be able to get that from that source was honestly amazing.
I was going to ask you guys, we should, we'll talk after, but we should do a donation towards the family. I was thinking Podcast City Network. I was thinking about that. What do you think, Everett and Chris?
Well, I'll definitely have to see, man. Yeah. I don't see why not.
Yeah. I don't see why not either. I mean, yeah, definitely. I know he has an online, guest you can sign.
I think we'll do that. We can sign it. If we could
he has that online
obituary.
Yeah,
obituary signing.
Yeah, I noticed that it was on there. It was put out there, but
Everett, what was it like? Let me ask you this: what was it like having JJ at your house? Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I was gonna get to their next person that or get next guest that like to say some words on behalf of JJ, but
go ahead.
You want it? Okay. David Barnabas Spector. I don't know if you've heard that name before, but David Barnabas Spector, he is a manager for FGW, Future Great Wrestling, and he travels around to quite a bit of promotions. And David Barnabas Spector, his character isn't really like that well. And J.J. Maguire had a hand on helping David Barnabas Spector. David is out right now. He's not able to come in and join us live tonight, but he did want me to share this with everyone here tonight. Let me go ahead and get this live up right here, and I'm going to go ahead and share this here. Let's hear some words from David Barnabas Spector, paying tribute to the true master of wrestling ring music, Hurricane J.J. Maguire. Here we go.
Attention, Podcast City Network. For those of you who don't already know, I am the leader, David Barnabas Spector. And that exquisite name would mean absolutely nothing without the help, without the kindness, without the generosity of one Hurricane J.J. Maguire. I had the absolute pleasure via our mutual friend, Robin Full Nelson, of meeting JJ, a very much unsung icon in the world of professional wrestling entrance themes. A man alongside his best friend, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, a member of the Gentrys, The combination of the two responsible for some of the greatest professional wrestling entrance themes that the World Wrestling Federation throughout the 1980s and later World Championship Wrestling in the 1990s have ever experienced. Plus, JJ worked directly with the icon of professional wrestling himself, Hulk Hogan, to help produce a solo record along with his wrestling boot band back in the early to mid 1990s. J.J. Maguire is undoubtedly one of the most talented musicians and artists that our great sport has ever had the privilege of being exposed to. For yours truly, J.J. Maguire played a huge role in helping to fully get momentum building on my side, to make my name a name of importance, of relevance. He helped to position me at the top of the card. He helped to get me on show posters. He helped to get me involved in main events, one of which is a memory that I will cherish for the remainder of my existence. Two teams locked inside of a 15-foot high steel cage. One team captained by moi. The other team captained by JJ himself, featuring Tracy Smothers. And in that particular match, Tracy, even though he came out and now was on the side of J.J. Maguire, he pulled the wool over all of those insectoids' eyes and ended up leaving with yours truly and my cohorts within Darkness Worldwide. And now I look back at that moment and it carries such relevance because of the fact that Tracy and now JJ are no longer with us, which is all the more reason why this program that you're listening to right now, why this is so very important, because it is keeping the memory, the name, the legacy of John J.J. Maguire alive and well, making sure that everyone out there that knew JJ personally or everyone that maybe inadvertently enjoyed having those fond childhood memories when his specific entrance themes would be blasting through their television sets, hearkening back to days of old, the glory days of professional wrestling. So many of those memories were courtesy of J.J. Maguire. I am remorseful in the fact that in the time that I knew JJ, that as much as I appreciated the man, respected the man, over time, COVID, life, we kind of grew a bit distant. We didn't communicate as much. And on my travels throughout the highways and byways of the United States, as I continue to try to spread my own imprint throughout the world of professional wrestling, traveling as far and wide as I possibly can, on a regular basis, I travel to Tennessee and I drive right through the state of Kentucky and I travel right by that Somerset area. And each and every time that I have done so, time after time, I have thought to myself, I truly need to reach out to JJ. I want to pay him a visit. I want to catch up. He's a brilliant man. He's a funny man. And I would love the time spent with him. Unfortunately, that opportunity will never happen. But what will happen is myself, along with individuals like Everett Lee, like Jim Phillips, John Cosper, Robin Nelson, Harley Fairfax, Jace Thorne, so many others that JJ touched their lives, we will all continue to carry on the legacy and the tradition to keep his name alive, to let people know that this man had true impact, not just on a global stage for professional wrestling, but on an individual level. J.J. Maguire made my dream a reality because he had faith and belief in me and in my vision of today, my vision of the future. He helped to fuel that. He helped to truly promote the idea that this was more than just possible, that it wasn't just a pipe dream, that it was something very real, very attainable. For that, JJ, I can't thank you enough. And because of that, because of you, because of your faith and belief in me and in so many others, that will help to continue to propel me into the future and beyond, because I am not satisfied with just being a regional name. For you, JJ, whatever it takes, I will promise you, I will assure you, my friend, that as you are in the heavens looking down at all of us, I will succeed, and I have you to thank for it. For everyone listening whose lives were impacted by the amazing being that J.J. Maguire truly was, I feel your loss, and I certainly share in your pain. But also know that it is our responsibility to make sure that J.J. Maguire is never, never forgotten. Podcast City Network, Everett Lee, thank you for producing this program, this tribute to Hurricane J.J. Maguire. This has been your Gothic God, the leader, David Barnabas Spector. JJ, I love you. Thank you for everything.
Man, powerful.
Thank you. Yeah.
That was powerful.
It was, man. It was. Thank you, David Barnabas Spector,
Yes.
for sharing that right there. And thank you.
You know what? He's never done my podcast yet. I'm still gonna have to get David on. After all these years, I'm gonna have to reach out to him. Man,
Yeah.
he's one of those guys that just really put a role on being a part of. He's a musician as well, and a manager of champions. You know, and the way that to have JJ a part of his career, it probably gave him some good pointers as being a manager. You know, which was pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely, man.
What was that story, Everett? Getting back to where we were at your house. Oh,
We have another person joining in, wanting to share
Okay.
a story with Hurricane J.J. Maguire.
you want me to add him, or you got it? I got it.
All right, go ahead. Joining us, Thumper, wrestling promoter of CFWE. How you doing there, Thumper?
Oh, tired, man. I'm doing a 42-hour class, and I did 12 hours today, and it'd like to kill me. Yeah. I tell you what, I will tell you one story about JJ. And now understand, I have never in my life ever met JJ face to face, but that was my brother from Kentucky. I call that man anytime and ask him anything, and he would be right there to help me. He was actually wanting to come down this year, and he was wanting to work with us with the CFWE. One of his, because he always, and Everett, you know this, he always watched all of our shows. He was
Yes.
very faithful to watching them. And he wanted to push us to be one of the best. And he had told me about a story about the lightings like WWE does. He says, and I'll never forget, he says, and we can do them really cheap. And me and JJ, I'm from the same area that he's at. So, Kentucky boys, they're like brothers, So anytime I ever talked to JJ, it was like one of my brothers being on the phone. And JJ was a 100% pure guy. You know what I mean? You don't meet guys like that in this business very much, that's willing to help you. Most of them will rip you off, but JJ was always there to help anybody and everybody that ever needed his help. Yeah. I have never met a nicer guy. Yeah. And I'm going to miss JJ. I'm going to miss the talks. I'm going to miss the crazy conversations me and him had about music and wrestling and just, just about Kentucky. I mean, where I'm from, I think it shocked the world when we found out that JJ passed away. Yeah. But I'm not going to stay here long, guys, because I am so beat. I have not sat in a class for 12 hours in 35 years, and I've got like 30 something hours to go. And
Wow.
yeah, it's killing me. Yeah. And it's boring. It's so boring. Yeah. That's the young guys, not for the older guys. But listen, guys, y'all guys have a good night, and I'll try to keep watching. I'm not going to watch too long because I got to be up and sitting in class by 5 o'clock in the morning.
All right.
Yeah. So
All right,
it's going to
Thumper.
be rough.
Good to see you, Thumper. Good to see you, Thumper.
Yeah,
It's
man.
definitely good to see you, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
stay in contact, guys. We're going to start running again.
We'll do some stories. Yeah, we got some stories we could always go around, right, Everett? We always like to.
Yeah.
Chris loves it too. Chris,
Oh, yeah.
Love the stories, man. Love the stories, man. And before you leave, I'd like to say that one of the moments with JJ stuck out is that me and JJ joined you on your morning coffee one morning.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He had a blast that day. Yeah. Ain't nothing worse than getting two Kentucky boys on the line at the same time. You ain't gonna get a word in edgewise. But a lot of people didn't realize JJ had a love for music just like he did pro wrestling. And what kind of linked me and JJ up is we're both drummers. And and we both played in rock groups. So that was like cake, icing on the cake, and then you throw pro wrestling up on top of it. That was even better. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but JJ, he was one of a kind. I mean, I think, like I said, he took pro wrestling by storm. I think WWE should do more for him, because even though he was behind the scenes, he was still a major part of that whole generation right there. Because if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be guys like Honky Tonk Man or Hillbilly J or guys like that, because with no music and no creating the characters, you ain't got nothing. You just got some bozo in the ring just wrestling. That's all you do. And and people need to start paying more attention to the people behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yes.
Everett will tell you, I give everybody compliments at my show, behind the scenes, out front, everybody. And, and I miss JJ because I just talked to him a week ago before he passed away, just like Everett did, just like Thump the Pre did. I think we all talked to him like a week before he passed away. And that blowed us. I mean, that just literally blowed me away. Because I didn't know nothing wrong with JJ, because JJ never talked about his health problems.
No.
Not one time.
He never did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that man was in better shape than me.
Yeah.
I mean, just by talking to him. Yeah.
Just like Scott Hall. Just like Scott Hall.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now I'm not gonna lie. I kindly figure something like Scott Hall, because Scott Hall was heavy into drugs and the alcohol, and but you got to understand the business to understand Scott Hall.
Yeah.
It's real easy to get mixed up in the stuff that he did, because I've done it. But now don't get me wrong, Scott Hall was an awesome guy, nicest guy you ever want to meet. And it's pro wrestling can be a trap for people. The thing that we just got to do is remember these guys when they go away, because these guys are the one that founded the way for us. And we need to remember them, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have pro wrestling.
And Everett, speaking of Scott Hall, JJ, you were telling me a story. Go ahead, Everett, about how he was going to be doing Scott Hall's entrance, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. Talking about JJ had songs and themes.
Oh yeah.
One of the themes that JJ talked about was when Razor Ramon was about to debut in WWF, and he did a theme for Razor Ramon, and it's a release theme, and he I never did get to listen to it, but he told me about it, and right at the last minute they switched the theme, and they didn't decide to go with the one that he had for him, but it's sitting there on a album that he would give out at shows when he would have at appearances, and there's a liner note that talks about each song, or talks about the history behind that there, and it's one of the things in there. He's like, you don't duplicate it, you don't put it on the internet, because he'd come after you.
Oh yeah. When it comes to his music, JJ did not play around at all.
Nah, he didn't.
Yeah.
He actually didn't. But Thumper, appreciate it, man. You coming on here, sharing some stories.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
Appreciate
guys, y'all have a great night. All right, now I'll give it. I'll catch you later, man. All right. I just got to figure out how to get off this thing. I'm very confused.
I got you.
For Chapman.
Oh man, technology for these people.
I know. Now,
Everett,
Chris, you asked me. You said you want to hear about the story about when J.J. Maguire stayed here at my house.
Yes.
This
You want
story,
to hear it?
Everett told
All
me.
right. All right. So this is what happened. So I told JJ about me and Chris planned. I'll try to shorten this up in short terms the best way I can. But so talked about Chris doing a 1-year anniversary podcast, City Network. At that time, after I talked to JJ, I told JJ about it. JJ was asking about how we were doing this 1-year anniversary. And I laid it out to him, what we were doing, what we were going to have and everything. And he said, I'll come down. I was like, really? He's like, I'll come down. I'll stay with you. Yeah, I'll stay there. And then I'll stay with Jimmy. Jimmy Hart was on the beach side. I'm like, okay. So I've only talked to JJ for a few months already. JJ comes down. I get off work. I come in, and then there's JJ sitting right there on the couch. With my daughter, my dog already made friends with him. And I was like, he stands up, and I'm looking up at very tall JJ, and I shake his hand, and he's like a face that goes along with the voice. So we talked there, and we hung out. We stayed up late that night just talking wrestling, talking about theme songs. I said to JJ, I said, how much of your music do you know that you have on YouTube? He said, I never really looked. I said, let's take a look. So we sat down right here at this computer, Chris and David, and we pulled up his theme songs. And a lot of people want to, give a shout out to people who that put JJ and Jimmy with the right music, not Jim Johnson. Which
I know that. Yeah.
So what happened was, where I'm listening to Shawn Michaels' "Sexy Boy," and sitting right next to me is the guy who played on it, who wrote it. I had to pinch myself because it's like, how often do you sit next to the guy who's performing a song that you're listening to, which was great. And I just was just amazed by it. But we watched some old wrestling, watched some old mid South wrestling. We watched some matches there. We watched some old matches with I'm trying to remember who it was. Not Marty Jannetty, but I forget off the top of my head.
Shawn Michaels probably.
Not Shawn Michaels. Michaels wasn't in Mid South. That was where Jimmy Hart was. That was Lanny Poffo. Yeah, we saw Leaping Lanny Poffo. We saw a couple matches. We just picked a random thing, and Jimmy was on there outside the ring there and stuff. But we set up and we pretty much we watched and talked about wrestling. We watched Star Wars. I said, JJ, you're a Star Wars fan at that time. Solo just came out. I know Chris seen Solo.
Oh yeah, got a copy of it sitting right over there.
I said, so have you seen this? Are you a fan? He's like, yeah, you like Star Wars. Okay. So we sat down, we watched Solo. He enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. And we had a blast just hanging out and just talking and stuff. But one of the greatest moments, and I probably shared this on the podcast before, one of my favorite moments was when we went over to see Jimmy Hart over on the beach side. When we went to see Jimmy over there, he was at his place there. He had the 2019 Royal Rumble playing. So Jimmy came in late. When Jimmy came in late, he just got in from an appearance up north somewhere. The interaction with Jimmy and JJ was unbelievable. Just watch them interact and stuff. Jimmy Hart was good with faces, but not really names. JJ said, let's stick around after everyone leaves and we'll talk to Jimmy. I want to record something for the promotion he was working at the time. JJ was. So everyone's clearing out. Jimmy walked up to me and says, hey, thanks for coming. Shakes my hand and walk off. And I'm like, he don't know I'm JJ's chauffeur. So when JJ was like, Jimmy asked, how'd you get in? He's like, I got in here with Denver.
I'm the limo driver.
He's like, yeah, I got in with Denver. And he's like, yeah, I know him. And Jimmy was like, all right, baby. Yeah. So we shot the promo. And then he's like, hey, baby, let's go out to eat Waffle House. So we went down the road, ate at the Waffle House, 12:30 in the morning on Daytona Beach shores. 12:30 in the morning. I'm at a Waffle House with J.J Maguire, Jimmy Hart, and me in the middle. And it was just all three of us eating waffles, eating food, listening to them talk about the Gentrys and wrestling. Best moment of my life.
That would have been cool if Jimmy Hart came along. Could you imagine if to the 1 year? Oh my God, that would have been like, hey baby, I'm here.
That would be cool.
I'm here for Podcast City Network team, and
But one of the memories I shared with you, Chris, was when we did the 1 year show and we had JJ come up with and me and him, because the one thing that we do, as long as we're doing,
you did a question.
Chris,
you actually did a Q&A, didn't you? Also,
me and you are together and we're doing these podcasts. It's great for the fact that we got good chemistry together. I won't deny that, brother. You and me, we're good. As soon as the cameras go live and the audio starts rolling, we just click, and we know what the other person is going to do before we know what we're going to do. And it flowed so well having JJ right there. And my favorite part just was doing that, was just having you there with me, my best friend and a legend right there, doing a live podcast, not video, not call in, right there in front of a bunch of people, which was amazing.
Doing a Q&A as well. I remember seeing that footage ever.
Yes, the Q&A.
I think Amanda was doing questions, I believe.
A lot of people were doing questions, but out of that moment, I want to ask you, Chris, what sticks out for that moment there? Because just being with you two in that moment was just enough for me. But what's you?
Man, I had tingles. Like it was crazy to be in that kind of situation. You know, like you said, one of my best friends, and with the legend J.J. Maguire, and having to sit down with in person, live, with all those people there. Like it was absolutely amazing. Pinnacle of my podcasting career, I feel like. So, you know, it meant so much to me to be able to have that moment.
Yeah, it was definitely great because it was a great moment there and a great time. And one of the things I have to say before we start taking it home here is I got JJ's book. It sits on my desk. His book sits on my desk, and what I love about this book is just a great story of him coming from Kentucky all the way up to going to California, going to WWE, doing music, the Gentrys, meeting a lot of famous people like Gene Simmons, what's his name? Jackie Gleason, meeting him. Just a lot of that stuff there that happened that you get to read about in the book. And even Thunder in Paradise, being on the TV show. But I wanted to read a couple of things out of here that stick out to me when I read his biography here. We'll call a few paragraphs here. Pretty much in the WWF chapter, JJ mentions that that Vince already had another music composer named Jim Johnson working with him as well. Jim's first piece was a saxophone introduction you hear during the opening introduction for the first WrestleMania in '85. Jim was a good composer who wrote a lot of great themes for WWF, WWE over the years, including Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock's theme. He also did the soundtrack for Hogan for No Holds Bars and a number of WWE movies when they opened their own film studio. Where is it here? He said Jim did a lot for the McMahons over the years, but he was a different type of composer than Jimmy and me. Jimmy and I were more in touch with popular music scene and what people wanted to hear. We also had experienced a wider range of popular music style. We were able to bring all the knowledge and experience to WWE and really change the way wrestling was presented through music. And right here, he says, by far the biggest song for Jimmy and me was Sexy Boy. The theme song for the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. We did a different theme for Shawn and Marty Jannetty's when it came in as the Rockers, but when Shawn turned on Marty and went solo, he had to get new music. Shawn's theme reflected on narcissism nature of his character in the ring, a brash, cocky heel whose greatest love in life was himself. He used sensational Sherry Martel to do the vocals originally, which you can still find on YouTube. But it was re-recorded later with Shawn in that distant gravel voice of his. Sherry Martel was a very sweet lady whose company and I always enjoyed. There weren't too many people who hung around with her for some reason, but she was always nice to me. We spent quite a bit of time together on and off, and I'm glad we did. Thanks to Shawn's longevity and his popularity, Sexy Boy became the most played entrance theme in the history of the business.
Wow.
Shawn was on every weekly show, every pay-per-view, and even special when he became a star. So that song got a lot of play. It also made a lot of royalties for Jimmy and me. And here's the last paragraph that sticks out to me that I want to mention here. That where was it? Right here. He talked about Randy Savage here. From all the guys I passed on, I miss Randy the most. To me, Randy was arguably the greatest wrestler of all time. He was an extremely unique individual and a genius. He was a stellar athlete who had a brief run as a professional baseball player before wrestling. Randy's brother, Lanny, was a great wrestler as well, but Randy had the extra something that made him just a megastar. Randy treated me like I was his best friend in the world. He wasn't the kind to buddy up to just anyone, but he and I got along well. Before coming to WWF, Randy worked with his father, Angelo, and Lexington, Kentucky, and he wrestled a lot of nights in Somerset as part of his dad's promotion, ICW. Randy and I bonded over that, and he loved telling me stories about his visits in Somerset. Those are some of the things that sticks out in this book there.
Wow.
And
You know what, Everett?
It's-
You know what?
great. It's a great book, man. You should go to eatsleepwrestle.com and get yourself a copy from John Cosper. This is such a great book, man. It is. It definitely is.
I was gonna share another moment from JJ. Actually, you're talking about the Rockers, and and JJ was telling me how he was at WrestleMania alongside. He was there when I was there in Atlantic City, sat next to Trump.
Yeah. Yeah,
He sat next to Trump, and he's like, I went to the casino and I played a couple, but I lost.
yeah,
That's great. Yeah,
it was great. It was great. But any last words from you guys before we wrap this up here?
I just want to say JJ was one of those guys that was just true musician. Just played his heart and soul to what he did for the music industry and the wrestling industry. And go back and look in the archives, and now it's digitally remastered to the Spotify, I believe, Amazon, iTunes, and just everywhere you can find his music. And CDs are still available if you go search. But go out and buy his book also. The book is called, Everett, tell us it once again so we can
My Life in Heaven Town by J.J Maguire and John Cosper.
Yes. So everybody get out and go purchase that book from Eat, Sleep, and Wrestle, and also on Amazon.com. Just type in J.J Maguire. You can find it on Amazon as well. But rest in peace, JJ. We're gonna miss you. And this one's for you, buddy. We're gonna miss you.
It is.
Thank
Chris.
You. I just want to say, JJ, thank you for being a part of the Podcast City Network team for life.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah. Chris, anything you want to add before we wrap it up here?
Well, definitely just want to say, thank you to JJ for helping inspire us to continue doing what we do and being an inspiration to so many, not only musically, but in the wrestling world as well, showing that you can overcome and make anything happen. So, hats off to you. Rest in peace, and see you on the other side.
Yes, definitely see you on the other side. Friday, March 25th at 7 p.m., there'll be a celebration of life for Jim Maguire on 4411 Highway 1664 in Nancy, Kentucky, 42544. And it'll be a celebration of his life. And please go. Please
support.
Pay respects if you can make it. And JJ,
we're gonna miss
this is for you, man. Definitely gonna miss you, brother.
For sure.
Everett,
have a good night, and we will see you again next time.
Everett, but before we go, Chris Carnage, what do you got going on with you and Final Scores, brother? Let's plug away, right, Everett? Hey.
Okay. All right.
We always.
I'm getting choked up here, man.
I know. That's why
trying to bow out.
Chris, how's Final Scores doing these days?
Well, Final Score has been on hiatus since the end of football season, but it will be back come the NFL draft in April. So definitely make sure to check everything out with Podcast City Network and Final Score. You can find Final Score at PCN Final Score, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So go check it out. And of course, you can find us on YouTube. So a lot of great stuff.
And also, Chris, you can join us back here in a couple of weeks or so. We'll have to schedule a fun podcast, getting us all caught up with some wrestling bullshit. We'll just have to do an old episode. What do you think, Everett? Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll get together. We'll talk afterwards. But
what do I have? What's Deathmatch Russell got going on this weekend?
David, you make me laugh.
I love it. I love it. Right? You always rip. You always
I need a laugh right now, man.
the ribbon, right? The ribbon of Russell.
Yes. This is good. This
Ready,
is good.
Everett? Go ahead, David. What do you have? All right, I'll act along with you, Everett. Here. Ready? David, what do you have?
David, what do you have?
Well, I have a podcast this Monday night at 8 p.m. with female wrestler, and she was just featured recent on a recent episode of AEW Dark. I'm going to be talking with female. She wrestled Thunder Rosa. Casey Fox will be on the podcast 8 p.m. I'm looking forward to talking to her.
Oh, very nice.
Mm-hmm. Everett, what about you?
Me? I'm gonna have a podcast on Tuesday. That's the only thing I can think of right now off the top of my head. I'm actually gonna have Brandon Wolf's tag team partner on this Tuesday. You had him on you had him on your podcast a few weeks ago there, David.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I'm gonna have him on. Help me out here, David. Because I got his real name. I don't have his working name.
Is his name Mitch?
Yes.
Mitch,
Yes, I'm going to have Mitch, Brandon Wolf's tag team partner on. And that would be Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on Podbeam live stream.
But anyway, back to wrestling. What's going on? AW is crazy. Thunder Rosa. What do you think of that, Chris? Oh, my gosh.
I know. It is pretty crazy, but anyhow,
we're out of here. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling is wrestling.
That's right.
It's good
We'll
wrestling.
definitely catch up on it at some point here in the future.
Yeah, we definitely will. But I want to raise a glass to one of the true master of wrestling ring music, Hurricane J.J Maguire. Thank you so much for everything you did, and you will truly be missed, man. You truly be missed. And thank you for everyone that tuned in, and thank you for everyone that plays this back and watches this replay. And have a good night, and we'll see you.
Make sure you follow on Podcast City Network on all platforms. Ooh.
Which you can find all of it on podcastcity.net.
And Facebook, Podcast City Network, Twitter at Podcast City Net, YouTube, Podcast City Network.
Buy the merch. Support us. Thank you.
Yes. Buy the merch. Support us. And you can hear my dog wanting out. So that's my cue to go. Later, everyone.
Later.
He's got the red, white, and blue running through his veins. He was born and raised in the U.S. of A. He's government inspected, he's U.S. grade. If you mess with the flag, it's like a slap in his face. He's American made. He's American made.
Podcast City Network.